I'm Jason Klom, and this is Comedy on Vinyl. Soak up the night, the artist Matt Braunger, and my guest, Josh Gondelman. Thank you so much for doing the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. What a quick and information-packed intro.
I never used to do it until somebody was like, it'd be really good to get a little context before you get started rather than you guys just bullshitting. I'm like, you know what? You're probably right. And then,
that's so good. I think that's all you need. I think there's a real spectrum of podcast intros, right? Ranging from you're dropped in mid-res, middle of a car chase style conversation. And then there's on the other side of the spectrum, there's the long 20-minute host kind of being this is people want to hear me and I have things to say to them. And I think anywhere on that spectrum is valid, but I appreciate how much bang for your buck your intro gives.
It used to honestly be the in media res version, and then it was pointed out to me and I started to realize, sometimes we don't tell why we're here at all. It takes 30 minutes. We're there's this album we're here to talk about.
Yeah.
Which sometimes,
especially for new listeners, I find that disorienting when I'm listening to something for the first time. And not that the conversation can't be free flowing or whatever. But when you tune into something where you're every year we talk about a different running of the Indy 500. Right. And then for the first 30 minutes, you're wait a minute, they're just talking about taco salad. And, and so it's helpful if you just, to set the intention. Yeah. So I mean that I'm not being snarky at all.
For sure. No. I appreciate it. You picked one of the more recent. I like when people do this. I just also like when newer albums are released on vinyl.
Yeah.
It looks like that was released in its original. He must have actually stuck to "Let's Get It on Vinyl," or his company did. Which, boy, oh boy! And I realized I'd never heard one of his albums before. I've seen him do stand up, but
yeah. Oh man, it's so fun. I don't think I own this album on vinyl, but I called it on the technicality of knowing it was on vinyl and loving vinyl albums. And I think there are lots of old ones. But I like a good recency bias, honestly. I like to sink into that. I'm not saying George Carlin is bad. George Carlin was a brilliant comedian, one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time. But I do think in a lot of different art forms, we have the tendency to either to lionize stuff that's old that we remember loving in the past, or the thing that's happening in this moment, right? To be this is the new groundbreaking thing.
Sure, yeah.
But I think there's this middle distance of art that's really nice that's not nostalgia, but it's just time keeps passing and sometimes things stay good, and that it's worth talking about that.
What's the bonus to this is I think a lot of people have assumed since the beginning, and it's fine if that's how they treat it, as a nostalgia show, but the reason I picked vinyl is less about old-timey comedy and more about that's how I shared comedy with my friends early. So whatever the hell enables you to either share stuff with people or, it doesn't fucking matter. Time period doesn't matter as long as it was released.
I mean, that's what we had that in my house when I was a kid. We had Smothers Brothers records, and this is every time I say this, it feels so fraught, but we had Bill Cosby records, and
everybody.
There was, and I don't think how bad a man he is and was erases that memory necessarily.
Sure, no, it doesn't. No,
there's just kind of a Mark McGuire asterisk next to I used to listen to this, but of course I wouldn't do that now. Right, but that was stuff that was around, and I liked the I think actually, weirdly, vinyl is it's an exceptional medium for comedy because it lends itself to uninterrupted listening, or listening with one interruption to flip the record, right? And I think that's that is the ideal way to listen to a comedy album.
I think so. Keeps you engaged too. It's one of those things where if I'm not listening, because I had to listen to this on YouTube. I don't own this. I don't own it on vinyl. So I had to listen on YouTube. So I did have, occasionally, I would just step away and I'm like, oh, fuck, no, you're getting distracted. Whereas, again, if I had to actively listen to the vinyl, I'm at least in the room. So
Yes,
it's
of course.
yeah, that's the big part of it.
And I mean, I think to me, the idea of having a physical media now is like, or to having an album in physical media now is like fun and impractical.
Yeah.
So I like vinyl. My last album is on vinyl. My
Mm-hmm.
previous album was on cassette, which is very fun to
Love it.
me to do. And the cassette came with a download card as well.
Smart.
But I think the vinyl is like it's like a fun thing to have in the home. I have a few records, like when Ted Leo a couple years ago did a Kickstarter for his new album to self-fund. I got the vinyl for that because it's like it is a nice physical. It's a beautiful physical item.
No, it's a beautiful piece of art. I mean, you can't see it, but I have a wall of about 12 records over here that are like favorites. Or any of them? Yeah, a couple of them are signed and then spattered throughout here just because they do. They make okay decorations that don't make you look like a slob.
I think it's certainly a cut above like movie poster.
Yes, to be fair, I have those, but yes, I get it. I know you have.
I'm not saying not to. I'm just saying like on the Pantheon, it's like a little smaller, a little and a little. I think the quaintness of the medium is like blends it to better decor.
I think so.
And it feels slightly less like dormy. Again, no offense.
No, I'm not going to take any offense to that. No, why would I take offense to that? That's fine. It's fine. So you're a bit younger than I am, so I'm curious as to when you first, because I don't know when I did, when you first heard Matt Braunger or saw him, and then what made you pick the album up?
I think I'd seen him I must have seen him on Comedy Central on like Live at Gotham or something. Okay. And I had started doing, so 2009, I'd been doing comedy for a little while, and I was very attuned. I'm like, some comedians I think don't like to watch a lot of comedy. They find it kind of like keep work at work or whatever, or like they prefer to draw inspiration from other types of art. But I really like watching comedy, which is one of the reasons I like doing comedy. And so I think I saw him on maybe Live at Gotham, and then saw his Letterman, which he mentions on the album, so it must have been before, on YouTube. And I was like, oh, I like this guy. And I think I must have had a friend that knew him or something.
Sure.
Or maybe seen his Comedy Central half hour. Like there must have been something, but I think I paid to download the album pretty close to when it came out. And like, this is the other thing. Matt and I are friends now, but we were not at the time. We weren't enemies. We just didn't know each other. So, it is like, this album is like from an era where I was listening to a lot of comedy aspirationally. Not just as like appreciation, not just as a fan, but I would listen to it and be like, someday I want to have that level of mastery. And this was one of those albums. This, and I remember I went on a road trip in 2009 and for like a month, and we listened to a couple of comedy albums, a bunch, and this was one. And John Mulaney's album, The Top Part, was another one. And those were a couple of the people that I was like, oh, these are the next wave, like these are the people that are like I think coming from, I like was just kind of gaining the appreciation for like the different levels of famousness in comedy. Cause to me, anyone that I saw on TV other than like Jerry Seinfeld felt fairly equally famous. Yeah. And so I was like, these are the new big guys. And I think they've become that, even if in 2009, neither was a household name yet.
Sure.
But comedy is such a long game.
It's true. I mean, that is true. I mean, I also, to be fair, I had no idea that Matt was roughly 6 years older than I am. He doesn't strike me as, he just seems like he's been a young comic ever since I've seen him. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's so playful on stage, and we can get into talking about the album specifically, but I think that it's not a false youthfulness. He's he's very silly and playful and energetic on stage in a way that I think serves the material so well. And that's one of the things I love about his work. There's just like so much whimsy that is innate to the comedy, and it's not like bells and whistles. It's just like what he thinks is fun and funny, and that's how he generates material.
There's not a lot of comics necessarily who I'm very easily intimidated, let's just say. So if a comic is as big, and I think he's rather imposing looking and loud as he is, I normally would be instantly turned off, except there's something about his energy where I'm like, oh no, I'm on board the entire time.
He has such a welcoming energy. And I think that is like a quality in comedy that sometimes people don't value as much when they're just like talking about it, analyzing it. That because it's a little different than being like likable on stage, right? I think that's like a slightly different thing, because there's lots of different ways to be likable. But like a warm, welcoming energy is a very kind of, it's like a lovely thing, and it's something I really, again, I aspire to. It's really aspirational to me to like hear all these kinds of different bits, and like the feeling behind them is like the feeling behind them is like, hey, come here, I got to tell you something, which is like one of my favorite. I was just talking to a friend about her writing, and that's like one of my favorite qualities in art is like when it feels like the person creating it is really enthusiastic to share it with you rather than doing it at you.
This is a period that, and here's the thing. I will not say that I'm super educated in like different notches and periods of comedy, but there's alt, whatever the fuck alt actually was, right? And this is just post that enough where it is not slathered in irony. There are influences from alt comedy that I can definitely hear, but I also like his take on them. And again, there's the enthusiasm and it does feel like you're just hanging out with him at a party in a good way, and he's telling you these great fucking things that he just thought about. And I don't know, like it just, again, brings you along.
Yeah, and there's so much craft behind it, right? Between the writing and the stagecraft of the act outs that you can hear even if you can't see. Like the last bit on the album about owls, I think there's like a lot of physical stuff too from remembering seeing it on Letterman and stuff. But just like the craft of like characters and singing and acting these things out. So to make that kind of stuff, to have something be so intentional and practiced and expert, but to feel really like intimate and like you said, like off the cuff, is like a real pleasure. And it's so fun. Not that that's the only way to do things. I think there's a lot of different, there are people who do their hour is 60 minutes of impeccable one-liners, and I think that's also like an incredible, wonderful feat to sustain that level of writing. Like someone like a Brian Kiley, even who does short jokes and just like like his hour. I think I heard him in an interview maybe on WTF or something with Mark Maron say like when he does an hour, he has to remember 120 jokes. Right. Which is like, that's so daunting and so precise and so such a wonderful way to do that.
It's clearly also, but I mean, and one of the things that I feel like maybe a Brian Kiley might underestimate about himself is it is something that is part of him. I mean, I interviewed him once, and I do remember at least some of the conversation being, "Oh, I've got some shit at the ready, no matter what you say." That is a part of it, you've got ammo if you're that kind of comic.
I mean, he's written so many jokes. Brian Kiley, big shout out to Brian Kiley, a very kind man and an incredible joke writer. And I'm also like very partial to Massachusetts comics from Massachusetts originally. And so I have a lot of, there's like a big space in my heart for Brian, who has been so kind to me. Just like we've met, very seldom, but he's always been like so warm and lovely.
At what point did you ever have a moment after becoming friends with Matt where you're like, oh, this is strange? I definitely grew up comedy wise with his material. I mean, that's strange to me. Or did it not ever occur?
I always feel, I mean, I've had like the real good fortune to become friendly with a lot of people I really like and admire, or at least to work with them under friendly and cordial circumstances. Sure. And so I've been getting increasingly good and comfortable with like expressing that, because I don't think anybody is mad at at hearing that, right? Like,
I don't
hey,
think so.
you know, like this stuff when I was starting, because I think he probably started a little before me,
Sure.
but not that much. So it's not like, I think there's a way in which you can be like, hey man, when I was 7 years old, I heard your first record, and people are like, oh, I'm old as hell. But that's not what this was. This was like, this came out when I was 5 years into comedy, and maybe he was a couple of years beyond that. But I was like, oh, this is how it's done. I think I was kind of still doing it on a little more of a part-time provincial level, you know,
Yeah.
like getting out on the road a little bit, but not in a way that was like financially sustainable, certainly. And so it was very the Boston scene is really great, but I think my the scope of what I was attempting and doing was fairly limited. And I also, not to be self-deprecating, but like I'm a stand-up comedian, but I'm not a full-time stand-up. Like I generally make my living in writers' rooms, you know, and stand-up is like a thing that I do a lot, but as a job, it's like a side job. So I still have a lot of like reverence and appreciation for the people who are like doing a new hour like twice as fast as I can put out a new hour, and like like building these skills and cultivating this material that's like road tested all the time. So it's even still, I have friends that are, you know, colleagues and peers in the way that like we work together, we're friendly, we hang out, we talk, and like talk as peers, but I still feel a level of like admiration for that. Not that like what I do is bad, or like I'm, you know, not that I'm an inauthentic comedian, but I'm like, damn, that is a being able to do comedy in that way is so arduous and admirable, and the results are so wonderful to see.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's healthy to continue to appreciate that stuff. I mean, you see what happens when people don't. So, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also like as a friend and a fan of a lot of people, you know, a lot of my peers and friends I'm a fan of. It's nice that like I get a new album, or, you know, I get to see a new hour every year and a half or every 20 months from some people that I really like. And I, instead of beating myself up about like, man, it's going to take me 3 years to get this new hour together and put out a new, or 4 years or whatever. I instead try to be more appreciative of like, man, look, and be like dazzled by the skill of the people that I admire, and the skill and the work ethic and the output.
Yeah, it's something that I can't relate to, because it's not like putting out a few podcasts a week is at all the same. I literally get to sit and listen to fascinating people talk, and it's one of those things where I'm like, good Christ. I mean, there's just even having the skill to observe that amount of things in an entire year or year and a half.
It's really impressive that just like to have that many new thoughts and then to filter them through the lens of comedy is so it's so delightful. I think I mean, it's not that it's the most impressive part of a new hour to me isn't like the quantity of words or jokes. It's like you said, the quantity of like ideas.
Yeah.
That's like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
Because like, I don't know, I think there's enough, you get good enough at comedy, you can write the jokes. Like you can write an hour of jokes about like more or less anything, right? But like to have it feel like urgent and lively and inspired to that performer, and as an audience member to be like, shoot, I never thought about it that way, or like, damn, what an incredible you really cracked that nut, is like that's like the real special stuff.
There's so much about this album that is the good version of elevating parts, like unnecessarily elevating parts of pop culture to like just this exaggerated type of a discussion and expression, where like he's literally doing a whole bit about how stupid the Piano Man is, and it leads into other things, but they're just elevating it in a way that I haven't heard anybody do in a while.
Yeah,
this is a 10-year-old album, so
yep. And the Piano Man bit, I mean, there's like the standard Piano Man jokes of like, what's a real estate novelist? I think like everybody has picked that
Sure.
Billy Joel
Sure.
classic apart, but like his is just the hubris of Billy Joel, which
Mhm.
is so funny, just to take on like, oh, he's so proud of himself, which is similarly, I have like, this isn't even a joke I do on stage, but I always think about when in the song, I have a similar feeling towards, the song Jack and Diane by John Mellencamp,
Sure, yeah.
where he starts off, here's a little ditty about Jack and Diane. It's like, he's being so mock self-effacing, like little ditty, like, this is going to get a huge push from the label. It's going to be like a top 10 hit. Here's my little ditty. Shut up, Mellencamp. You know what you're doing.
I mean, that feels like this entire album. This entire album is, it is, I don't know, thematically, what does this album feel like to you?
I think it is, gosh, that's such a good question.
It's also intentionally very vague in general.
That's okay. I think thematically, when I listen to this album, there's like a sense of wonder, like, almost like wide-eyed skepticism,
Yeah.
if that makes sense, which I don't think it does, but it's like this sense of wonder complete with like how, like, you can't love everything, right? I mean, that is the title of the new Patton Oswalt special, is I Love Everything, which is a little tongue-in-cheek, but like, you can't look at the world with wide open eyes and be like, it's all glorious, but it's like someone who is endeavoring to look at the world with wide open eyes and seeing these like beautiful, pure moments, like the joke about the writing on the bathroom stall, right? Just to notice that and convey it. And like, part of the joke is, here was something I saw in a bathroom stall that was funny. And then the rest of the joke is like, what poetry that is, right? How impressed he is with that kind of like quotidian excellence and impact. So that's one thing. So he kind of has this like, this sieve with an incredibly wide bore that's taking in everything, and then just catching these big chunks of like, what's that? And so you get this kind of this like delight, and but also this kind of level of like, well, that ain't right. And so it's like someone who has a lot of enthusiasm, but also like a sense of not quite justice, but a sense of like what is good and what is bad.
That's fair. I like that it's also flavored, and this is, by the way, totally informed by the artwork of the album, which is him in front of this great cityscape. It says soak up the night with this crazy rock font, kind of.
Yeah.
There's something about that flavors my perception. So I picture everything that happens on the record as happening during the night, and therefore it's kind of cozy and personal.
Yeah.
And, it's one of those situations where, the album art for sure affected how I thought about the whole record.
The album art is great.
Yeah.
The photo is great with the loosened skinny necktie and the shirt with one button open, and the cityscape, like you're saying, which the cityscape is so like evocative, and the font is so evocative, and it really, and even the title, right, Soak Up the Night, like there's so many lines on this album that I think if he wanted to project a different vibe and energy for the album, would have made great titles. Like he has the joke, that I think it's tucked into the joke about the commercial for Summer's Eve, where he talks about how he is like the fattest seahorse. And like the fattest seahorse is like a very funny title, but that's not what Soak Up the Night, when you're talking about the themes of the album, that's it, right? It's like, take it all in, baby. Like, look at this. Like, here, look, this whole world we're living in, all the kind of grimy and dumb parts, as well as all the things that we love, because there's so much that's like, there's so much of the stuff that's like, I don't think this is very good, is like the explicit statement within a bit, right? I don't think I don't think this is like this is the right way to do that, but at the same time, the there's not a lot of cynicism
Yes.
to it. It's like it leads into a playfulness, right? Like there's that joke about marble. I love that, or actually this joke starts, I love when a business takes an existing business model and slightly changes the name, right? So there's like Cold Stone Creamery is the one he talks about, and there's a place called Marble Slab Creamery, and then the whole bit is just about how that sounds like a tombstone, and then it just is like a very silly like man shotgun to death creamery, and like it's so silly and takes the bit to a logical extreme of like if someone showed me their notebook and it was like, hey, Cold Stone Creamery, that's kind of like or Marble Slab Creamery, that's like Cold Stone but like for a tombstone, you'd be like, sure, keep writing.
Okay, sure.
And then he did, and the bit is just like this huge hilarious like act out of being served ice cream that looks like a dead man, and it's so funny, and it sounds bleak, just
so
to like
dark.
describe the bit, but it's also there's so much whimsy and enthusiasm to it that you're not like you're thinking about a dead person, but at the same time you're not like contemplating your own mortality.
Right. I mean, there are a lot of times when something will come up like this, I'll be like, oh, that just revealed to me maybe a darkness I didn't detect before. Whereas with him, I'm like, no, I think his general thing is I'm digging just enough under the surface and fucking with it. I don't feel like he's this dark, like, secret creep of a person, It doesn't feel that way. It's just like, no, this is just a funny idea. Do you enjoy this funny idea? And
yeah. And I think that's a very special quality to do in a way that is so, again, to like keep coming back to the same thing, so welcoming and inviting, right?
Yeah.
Like to create jokes that are 11 years is a long comedy time, and there's so much stuff from 11 years ago. There's stuff in my act from 11 years ago that I'm like, oh god, I would love for no one to ever hear it. It was too mean-spirited or just like not informed enough, not hateful, but like even stuff that you just kind of toss off that's like, man, I wish this were I wish I had done this better. And for something to be fun and warm 11 years later and not feel out of step, I think there's like a few people that do that so well. Like, I mean, you listen to like 30-year-old Brian Regan stuff, and that feels like, his style at the time was like, it feels a little older than this, but like for those jokes to stand up and still make people feel good in a way that is unique is really special. Excuse me. The joke about, one of my favorite all-time bits is the reason that I came to this album first is one of my favorite all-time bits is the bit about bed calzones. Because it's so nonsense, but he takes it so seriously. The premise of the bit is, I lost a little weight recently. And, it's nothing big. I just stopped eating bed calzones. And then he describes bed calzones, which are what they sound like, a calzone you eat in bed, off of your pillow, as like a thing we all experience from our like nurturing mothers who just wanted us to grow up strong and healthy, who would make us eat calzones in bed every night. And the premise is so silly, but it comes from like enough of a real place of like, we all know caregivers who are like that, right? That's how they express love. And this is like the absolute cartoon extreme, but the way he gets into it of like, I lost a little weight, I stopped eating bed calzones, is like so silly and surreal. And I think the first time I heard it, I was like driving in a car with a friend, just both of us like screaming at how funny because there's no way you just can't prepare yourself to hear the words bed calzones for the first time, because there's no precedent for it. And even the joke leading up to it you don't expect to hear that. That's because that's nothing. It's like a new thing.
Also on paper, it's nothing. It's not a joke on paper. Again, full commitment and development.
Full commitment and development, and it's not like he's getting something over by selling an empty calories, no pun intended, premise, right? He is investing this really silly idea with real stakes of like, remember what it was like to be a child, and you would be fed, and the like depth behind it is like, there's a period in your life where grown-ups, you're a child and grown-ups make all your decisions, and then some of that just sticks with you. Right? Like there are things from your childhood that you do as an adult that you don't know why you do. It's just the way you do it because it's the way someone taught you to do it. And it's always worked. You've never had, or maybe it hasn't worked, and you've just never had reason to or inclination to interrogate that. And I think that that's like that is the emotional heft of this bit.
Yeah.
But the phrase bed calzones is so funny and silly. And I just like love it. I've like played, it occurred to me like 2 years ago, just like, hey, bed calzones, it's been a while. And I like made my wife listen to it in bed. I played it on my phone for her. Like, it's just such a, I can't explain fully, but that bit, there's something about it that like is the shortcut to so much of what I think is funny.
I think it's also, it feels like, again, and I, not being a stand-up, I have limited experience with this, but it feels like a really insanely well-developed bridging bit, because it does bridge those two bits, the weightlifting to the Smiths and Christmas songs, beautifully and perfectly. It is also a perfect standalone bit, but it does feel like a crazy bridge where he's just like, how far can I take this bridging piece?
Yeah. It's like because the premise of it is so it's a thing people expect to hear, right? I lost a little weight recently. Is like, that's not the first time you've heard that, probably either at a live comedy show or from a comedian, right? That's like a premise that many people have made unique and specific comedy from. But like, this is different than all of that. And so I think it's such a fun Trojan horse to, it would be like, if you were like, so I got engaged, and then the bit was about like stealing engagement rings from a jewelry store. You know what I mean? It's like so it's so tangential to the original premise that gets you in the door. Because I think if you started with like, hey, I just stopped eating bed calzones, people would be like, where is that coming from? But to like give such a familiar, like, here, let me extend my hand to you, audience, and tell you where I'm coming from, and then just like immediately switch it into this total nonsense bit is so fun.
I shouldn't be relating to the bit because it's nonsense, but it still feels very something. Like, it's so familiar, but it shouldn't be. It's perfect.
It's really delightful. And so that was when I remembered that this album was on vinyl. I was like, oh, this is one of my all-time favorite jokes. And so I would love to talk about it.
There is so Eggly Bagel Face is real. I looked this person up.
That's incredible.
And I mean, I will not tell anybody the spelling because their address is freely available. Their phone number is not. I kind of wonder, because they no longer live where he said that they live. So I now wonder, like, do they know that there's a bit about them out there? I really want to. I want to write this person a letter.
Someone must have told Eggly Bagel Face that they're the topic of public fascination.
Right. And it's such a dumb bit where I mean, there's no way this is real. Like, there's a part of my brain's like, fuck you. No, it's very funny. I love it, but there's no, and I look it up. I had to do a little side searching. Like, holy shit, this is a real thing. Blew my mind.
It's so much funnier when it's real because anyone can make up a funny name.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, it has to be real, but I'm like, that's too dumb. What was the other name? Skeletor or something? What was it?
It was like Skeletor P Funk or something. And then even if the details after that are like embellished, I think once you start from the point of like, this is the real guy, the rest of it is allowed to be joke. But sometimes when someone is like, this weird thing happened to me, and it is so fully fabricated, it's like, well, yeah, anybody can make up a weird thing.
Yeah.
But like the idea that there's a real person named Eggly Bagel Face, and just like his joy, right? Like,
yes.
And him talking about the experience of making prank calls, of like talking to this other kid, like, are you also 11? Like, just being so delighted by how funny this other little kid was. It's like, it's so, it's such a nice space to get into. And again, I don't mean to be limiting about what kinds of comedy are good and valid.
Sure, of course.
I think there's like a great joy in like kind of a hard hitting, more serious minded set of material too. But I think I think that the comedy that is like that is talked about a little more and kind of given its due with a little more regularity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That, because I think there's like a real I think comedy that is like joyful and feels relevant to people's lives and is original is, I hold that very dear as like an audience member and like as somebody who endeavors to like make comedy in that mold a lot of the time.
It's, well, the thing is, it's easy to dismiss anything else, or easy to dismiss something like that in favor of something like this, in favor of stuff that we take seriously, ironically enough. So it's very easy to dismiss fun, interesting comedy, just based solely on the fact that we assume, I guess, that it is maybe not less valuable, that there's less content, but there's no less content in this than anything else. It's just, it is couched in just some insane shit. I mean, when he's talking about porn, he's not really talking about porn. He is a bit, but he's not talking about how much he hates the Doors in the nicest way possible, by the way, in the funniest way. How much he doesn't like Jim Morrison. Fuck.
So funny. I texted my buddy Casey last night, who I think he reminded me that I told him to listen to this album years ago, but I texted him like, oh, I re-listened to this album tonight for the first time in like a while straight through. And he just texted me the Burger King Whopper, like all caps, which is so funny.
I had to write down Eagle riding on a cowboy's back.
Eagle riding cowboys, yeah. Him, the line that always gets me is him assuming Jim Morrison, like drunk, telling you to bring him to Burger King, would call you sacred brother. Like, let's go to Burger King, sacred brother. Like, it's so funny. Like, he'd say something shitty like sacred brother. Like, just all like imagining all those details. It's like the album is so rich with detail. Like the idea of I kill a unicorn, right? At the beginning, the first bit. I mean, I hope I'm not like spoiling too much for people who would want to listen to this. But the first bit is like he's talking about how preposterous it is to some of his relatives that he's a professional comedian, and he says, I hunt unicorns for their meat. It's light, like it tastes like cotton candy, but it's thick like a steak, which is not like the idea of I hunt unicorns. I feel like I've been saying this a lot on podcasts, but like Dayenu, that's a joke in and of itself, right? That would have been enough. But he takes it, the reason that it's a special joke is the description of that job. He's not like I think I hunt unicorns is the kind of thing that could easily be like, okay, sure, you thought of a mythical creature, you created this fun allegory for your job, but then to like fill out the bit with like describing the uniform of a unicorn hunter and does it hurt? No, you pull off their horn and they explode and it's painless, is like that kind of imagination is like it's so fun.
Yeah.
And especially, I mean, I feel, in contrast to myself, I feel like so much of what I say is like light observations on stuff that literally happened. And so when someone is really inventive in this way, it resonates with me in a way that I feel like, oh, there's like a lobe of brain that mine must be very small and this person's must be very large, because I don't think my friend Andrew Mayer, who just put out a new album, has a similar like whimsy. And when I watch him, it's just like, it's so delightful to me. Because I feel like, in contrast, and again, not to be self-deprecating, this is just descriptive, that I'm like, here's what happened, and here's like a couple details of why it's funny to me, next thing. And I'm not like world building or and so that's one of the kinds of things I like very much.
That is the thing that keeps me coming back to stand up, again, not as a stand-up, other than my obsession with what it's become since it started in its various forms, is exactly that I can enjoy what you do, I can enjoy what Matt Braunger does, I can enjoy somebody like Stephen Wright, or, it's just that, I don't know, you're all painting still relatively within the same scape, it's all the same type of mind we're working with in general. It's all a human experience. And I don't understand. Oh God, fuck.
Stephen Wright too. I mean, his joke about, I forget the in and the out, but he mentions this girl or this young woman that he dated in the past, and he said she worked at the one of us worked at the planetarium, either he or she did, and he said we would lie on top of the planetarium and look up at the stars. I called it a galaxy sandwich. I would take out my harmonica and just play what I saw. One time a shooting star went by and I almost broke my neck. And like that first chunk of like that first little bit about we would lie on top of the planetarium and look up at the stars is like so fucking beautiful. Mm-hmm. It's like there's so much. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I'm such a like a little Pollyanna doofus about things, but I think that kind of thing is not that Stephen Wright has not been widely acclaimed in his career, but I think that kind of stuff is really special.
Agreed. Well, also, and I am guilty of this too, of lumping him in with like Mitch Hedberg, who was almost exclusively, if not one-liners, a few lines. Mm-hmm. Whereas, as you say, he paints a fucking picture and then gives you a punchline and then might move on to another one line. But like, holy Christ. Like that is I have never heard that one. Is that on?
It's off the second album.
That's
which I forget what that's called. Yeah.
That's why I've never heard it.
It's really good. I mean, and I saw him, I got to work with him 8.5 years ago. Yeah. A friend of mine wrote me an email and called me and was like, hey, I just moved to New York. And my friend John called me and said, hey, do you want to open for Stephen Wright this Saturday? And it was like in Western Mass. And so I knew that it was like a 3-hour drive. Mm-hmm. He goes, do you want to open for Stephen Wright this Friday? It ended up being way more because of traffic.
Oh, shit, right.
Excuse me. But he goes, Friday traffic leaving New York City, even though I lived way uptown at the time. And, so it was a straighter shot than where I live now in Brooklyn. But useless details. Because you want to open for Stephen Wright on Saturday night in Western Mass. And I go, yeah. And he goes, well, don't you want to look at your calendar? And I said, no, what do I have to do that's better than that?
Right. Holy shit, man.
It was great. And so I sat with my friend, my girlfriend at the time, who we're now friends. We sat in chairs on the side of the stage, and he sits for a while because he plays guitar and talks for a portion of his act. So we're just like sitting at eye level. He's sitting, we're sitting, just watching from, 25 feet away while he's at this beautiful stage at I think the Calvin Theater in Northampton. And it was just like, what a thrill. And just like to get to, it was a lot of, I think there was some stuff I hadn't heard before, but a lot of like the classic Stephen Wright bits, which what a joy to see him like still crushing with those and like delighting people who have maybe new people, maybe people who've heard it 100 times. Mm-hmm. It's just great.
It's a reminder that personality sells so fucking much. Like it doesn't matter if the joke is old. It's not good. It can still weirdly be fresh.
They're so good though. I mean, just like, I bought dehydrated water. I didn't know what to add. It's like it's like, okay, well that's one joke that no one else can write. One perfect joke that no one else can write.
Of course.
That God, and another Massachusetts guy.
Yeah, right. Of course, famously so.
Yeah.
Also famous for his beautiful hair. So many things he's famous for. How do you not love Stephen Wright? The more I think about Soak Up the Night, though, I'm realizing I sort of picture it as a movie, and I feel like it could weirdly be a movie. There's a lot, I don't know how, but I feel like it could be a movie and not a sketch movie even. It does feel like you follow Matt Braunger through one insane night, but there's just so much in here.
There's so much in there. I think the bouncing from topic to topic is really fun and doesn't feel, it feels of a piece with all of a piece, but it also the breadth is really wide of like what he's talking about, and but I do think there's like a lot of stuff that kind of feels similar, like drunkenly going to Burger King, right? The Jim Morrison thing, and then all the Taco Bell jokes feel like that same trip. Maybe the jokes about the Taco Bell drive-through and like gosh, I'm trying to think of what else, but like even the owl stuff, like it feels very like, yeah, it could be the adventures of one guy, like in a Harold and Kumar kind
Yeah,
of
that
way.
might be what maybe where my brain is going. I mean, even the fast food stuff almost weirdly links in with bed calzones.
Yeah,
There's
of
something in
course.
there too.
Late night eating. Yeah, of course. Um, and it's yeah, there's just like a real warmth and kind of like adventurous spirit about it. I'm trying to think. I'm gonna look at the track listing and see if there's. I pulled it up. If I missed much,
There's so
and
much on here, by the way. There's what,
yeah,
10, 16 tracks. 16 tracks, by the
yep,
way, that are also like separate, each of them separated into each bit that is in there. There's just so fucking much. He does a
yeah,
bit
yeah,
about
yeah,
George
yeah.
W. Bush having a DUI.
Yep,
And again, doesn't feel like it should be in there, but it is and it works.
yeah. Right. In 2009, I mean, it must have been like something he wrote while he was in office and then recorded around when he was leaving office. Maybe even, yeah, because he says he's out.
Yeah,
So it
he
must have been
just said,
recorded
yeah.
like right after Obama was elected or inaugurated. And so yeah, good to get it on record. But it's so even that bit about like that's so inventive, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, let's not judge every person, you know, people have made mistakes, but to get a DUI as a rich white guy in Texas in the 70s, like the level of drunk you have to be. And then the act out of that is so like imaginative and gross. And yeah, he just covers so much ground.
Yeah. What is? Oh, right. See, I like that you can do a lot of fun things with titles on an album. So if somebody chooses to look, I usually am a person who likes to look and see what's up ahead. You have no idea what Country Boy Wins Again is until you are right at the end of
No.
that track. It's so dumb and it is childish and again works perfectly.
Yeah. I think there's just like it's so like Doors Whopper. It's like what the hell is
What the
that?
fuck?
And then yeah, and then it's Jim Morrison
Mm-hmm.
singing about Whopper. And it's just yeah, it's so unexpected. Like I think there are ways to do feel like this kind of comedy with this energy that feels very familiar, and there's a skill to that, certainly, to be like, hey, remember playing tag, and like a big act out about like what was so scary about being it, and like high energy and kind of like the comedy of like remember this, everybody. But this is not that. This is like the comedy of remember now, which is its own like different, and I think there's like a level of, you can talk about stuff from the past with a lot of depth, or you cannot. But like
Yeah.
this is stuff like looking at this kind of now with like such a warm glow.
There is so much comedy of maybe this ilk too that might go out of its way to sort of punch you in the face at the end with a very positive message, whereas it's just like, this is also just, no, this is another set. This is a set that I took my sweet time with, but it is not. It is positive, and I think relentlessly so, but not in a way where he points out how positive he is, I guess is what I'm saying.
No, I mean, I think that like the message is, or the feeling is so powerful, right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't, and not again, not I try to be very careful about not speaking ill of any specific genre that I don't think is like openly pernicious. It's just like not what we're talking about at hand, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But like in contrast with, you know, I think there can be a value to saying like I mean, like Carlin would end sets, right? With what was it? Take care of yourself and take care of someone else. Was that what he was saying?
Right,
So
yeah.
like there is, I think that is not an artless thing to do to
No.
like put a button on it or put a bow on it. But I think to just like leave people with this feeling is its own thing, which is a thing that like I think Brian Regan does. I'm trying to think
Yeah.
of like who else like really accomplishes that, and with such a they're like an infectious joy that doesn't necessarily have to be named.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and I'm glad that you picked this because it was not something I would have necessarily known existed. I like him, but I don't, unless somebody tells me to listen to a record, even though I've got 700 of them sitting here, I'm probably not going to listen to it anytime soon. So
Sure.
it's nice when somebody suggests something new and also newer. Like again, only 11 years old, this record.
Which is, I mean, that makes me feel I feel so much of my whole life is different than it
Mm-hmm.
was in 2009. Everything about it. I lived in I think I lived with my parents for a couple months, and then
Mm-hmm.
I was driving cross country for like 4 weeks to 5 weeks, and then lived in Alston and Brighton again in Boston,
Mm-hmm.
and was teaching preschool full
Oh my
time
God.
when I was home, uh, and so I was dating someone who I'm obviously no longer dating, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just like every like checked box in my life was practically different. I
Yeah.
was bald then too, so
Mm-hmm.
that's like the one constant is my shitty hairline that has been a constant since my early 20s.
I know your
So
pain.
yeah, I didn't want to ask, but I'm thank you for extending that to me, that grace to me. But you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
like that there's so much of my life has changed, but I like this um I have such an appreciation for this album still.
I like that you came back to it and came back to it in such a positive way. I mean, it would suck if he's your friend and you're like, "Oh, I hate this now." But it is nice that you came back to it, and it is still lovely and silly.
Yeah. That I mean there's and again like we talked about earlier, there's so much stuff that just doesn't hold up by being a consequence of its time, even if there's nothing cruel or like off color about it. There's
Sure.
just like there's stuff you listen to from 15 years ago that just the frame of reference is so different.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
the idea of there was no I guess 22 the year 2000, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's some you don't think about that as being like a full other era of entertainment, but like Facebook didn't exist 20
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
And so just like how everybody thinks about everything has changed so much, and so there's like this framework. I mean, oh, this was the big one. Jerry Seinfeld's HBO special, I'm telling you
Mm-hmm.
for the last time,
Mm-hmm.
which I rewatched a few years ago for the first time since like my grandmother VHS taped it off of HBO in
Mm-hmm.
99 or 2000, whenever Seinfeld ended right after that. And there's a big chunk about how lax airport security is everywhere. Just the idea that they don't give a shit, that they're not there to protect anything, that it's loosey goosey, and then
Woof.
a year and a half later, that completely changed, where everyone's experience forever, or since then, for the last 18 and a half years, the
Yeah.
experience of going through airport security is like uh rigorous and uncomfortable security theater, as
Yeah.
opposed but there's a joke in there about um someone scan do you know the bit that I'm talking about at all?
It's been a while.
He's talking about the airport security agent looking through his stuff, and he goes, "What's this, bowling ball shaped candle? Send it on
That's
through."
right. That's
And
right.
it's like, so it's such a funny visual of like a cartoon bomb. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just that joke is especially to young, if you were born in 1995, let's say,
Yeah.
or even 1990 or after,
Yeah.
that just does not track as lived experience.
No, no, yeah, it's. I think, and weirdly, a couple weeks ago, well, by the time this comes out, a couple months ago, oh, we talked about shit, David Cross's "Shut Up, You Fucking Baby," and that
Yep.
is just barely post 9/11 enough
Yep.
that if you compared those two in a sitting, that would be distressing but interesting.
Yeah, and that's like a matter obviously of like one like cataclysmic
Mhm.
historical event, but being on either side of that, not by being wrong or thoughtless,
Mhm.
just the jokes feel so much, a joke can feel so different. Whereas like you maybe some of the stuff David Cross was saying on "Shut Up, You Fucking Baby," people would be like, "Come on, man," in June 2000 of 2000, and
Well,
and so
yeah, yeah.
and so much of the stuff that Seinfeld was talking about, or at least that chunk in 2000, a year and a half later, is like comically obsolete.
Oh yeah, big time. And also, there's plenty on David Cross's album that I think we discussed is mostly like George W. Bush is the worst president we've ever had. That kind of stuff doesn't track anymore either.
I mean, he's still really bad, but it's like
terrible, sure.
But in this moment, it's like, well, we got to keep our eye on the terrible ball that's being thrown at us
really do.
in this moment. But I am like the kind of, not that this is what you're doing, but like the George W. Bush, like, he wasn't that bad, is like, no, thank you. You know what I mean? When people's, yeah, it's like, absolutely, no, he's just not doing it now.
We haven't redefined war crimes since then, I don't think. So I think
So he still got in under the wire on the old definition of war crimes, which is war crimes.
Yeah. Oh shit. But okay, let's do this so that we don't end this on the words war crimes.
Sure.
Give people a couple sentences. You know, you're not limited to that, but why give Soak Up the Night a listen? Maybe we can assume they don't know Matt Braunger.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. So my pitch for Matt Braunger is that he is warm and silly and inventive, but fully accessible and like generous to the audience. He's doing comedy for the audience to laugh that is also like really unique and like inventive from his own brain, right? So it's both, which I think are like two qualities that when they go hand in hand is really fun. But also, I think a lot of people that I know that are not big comedy fans have a problem with comedy that's too mean. Mm-hmm. And not, you know, I think there's a time and a place for like real mean comedy. I love a real mean joke. Yeah. But excuse me, I think sometimes that is a little like grueling and can be a little grueling and stressful to listen to if you're in a certain headspace. And I think like again, we know the examples of the like really sharp social critic comics, right? Mm-hmm. And the really fast moving kind of edgy nightclub comics. And I think that those genres I think are well chronicled, but I think like to separate this genre out from that, and not to say that you can't like both, but to say like, oh, if you're in the mood for something that is like inviting and exuberant and makes you feel good, but doesn't feel like your intelligence is being insulted, right? Like it's smart. Like the jokes are smart, but they're fun. And like smart, silly fun is like my favorite thing to recommend to people.
Agreed. Perfect. No, that's wonderful. So here's my thing. This unless you have something coming up, and in which case I can move some things around, this is not going to come out for quite a few weeks.
That's okay.
But again, if you end up having something you need to promote in the meantime, you let me know. I'll change that.
I don't think anything's going to happen in the next few weeks.
I'm trying to be hopeful. Why don't you tell me where people can find you, maybe where they can find albums, anything like that?
Absolutely. So joshgondelman.com has info on most of the stuff I do. You can listen to my albums. You can order my book, Nice Try, Stories of Best Intentions and Mixed Results. I also have a podcast of my own. It's called Make My Day. It is a comedy game show where there's only one contestant, so they always win. And every week they win. The grand prize is a $100 donation to the charity of the contestants choosing.
Love it. That's delightful.
Thank you.
That's good. Thanks for putting good out into the world. That's such a nice thing.
I appreciate that. I'm doing my best.
Boy, oh boy. Well, I've got nothing to promote because by the time this comes out, I literally don't know which of my shows are on or off because they're all limited series except for my 3. Oh, you know what? There we go. Just ladies and gentlemen, go ahead, go to StolenDress.com. That's where all my podcasts are. You can listen to Comedy on Vinyl, which is this one. Why am I advertising it on its own show? Dan and Jay's Comedy Hour, where I talk about my comedy with my best friend going back almost 30 years now. And Dispatches from Fort Awesome, which is a podcast about the television show News Radio. So thank you so much again for doing the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thank you all for listening. And as always, have a good thing. Comedy on Vinyl is a production of StolenDress Entertainment. It is produced by Mike Warden and is hosted and edited by Jason Klom. Our theme song was composed and performed by Richard Levinson. You can email us at podcast@comedyonvinyl.com. You can also send snail mail to StolenDress Entertainment, P.O. Box 805, Burbank, California, 91503. Subscribe to Comedy on Vinyl on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you can find podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating and write us a review. It helps. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Comedy on Vinyl, or find everything in one place at comedyonvinyl.com. A major portion of Comedy on Vinyl has been underwritten by Stand Up Records. Please visit standuprecords.com for all your comedy needs, and tune in to the new Stand Up Records channel available on the Roku, where you can also find select episodes of this podcast. Visit StolenDress.com to listen to our other podcasts, watch videos, and imbibe freely of our multimedia content going back 15 plus years. StolenDress Entertainment.
Hey, it's my turn. Ah!